Great. So I'll be sharing about blockchain adoption and opportunities in Hong Kong. Okay. I mean, to start, I would like to kind of give a quick introduction about myself. So I started my journey in digital twin and BIM from Stanford University, take courses in virtual design construction, then spend the last 15 years in APAC promoting digital twin and BIM and smart city solutions to the developers and contractors. Over the last 2 years, more focus on promoting disruptive blockchain technology infrastructure level to the government and also enterprise, collaborating with academia and also the government and the industries to kind of creating the ecosystems. So today's section, let me see, a quick summary. So I'll share the company, Red Day Technology, and also the project that we're doing in related globally and also locally. And second part will be more focused on the Hong Kong blockchain adoptions within the industry, the construction and real estate. A little bit more about property developer, how they are actually potentially could adopt the DLT and blockchain technology. And last but not least, more focus on the construction use case. So first of all, a quick snapshot about Red Day Technology. So it is a Hong Kong-based, a global blockchain infrastructure solution provider. So we mainly work with large enterprise and government to advise and develop blockchain infrastructure, or what we call the layer 0. And there are two main projects that we are actually doing globally. One is the blockchain-based service networks. It's a global blockchain infrastructure solution, creating two isolated networks. One is actually dedicated for China, mainland China, and the other one is if we can actually combine the global data together. The Chinese one, if you guys are interested, I can privately share a bit more because it kind of related with the regulation and then the privacy issues and for cross-border data exchange. And the other project that we're more focused on is actually the universal digital payment networks. I think some audience were asking about stablecoin. So UDPN, this project more focused on the CBDC and stablecoin cross-border payment networks. So some of my focus is on actually also on that part. When we're looking at blockchain technology for different industries, at the end of the day, everything has to go back to money. And that's why some of my time is actually spending collaborating with the banks and also different regulatory authorities, both from Hong Kong, Middle East, and global. The company is actually founded by Saudi Aramco, so that's why we're actually there to helping the local government to explore smart city using blockchain technology. A quick overview about the product and technology itself. So we always envision working with the government and enterprise, looking at compliance first, risk compliance and also regulatory compliance. We want to kind of develop the dedicated BaaS system actually for the government and also the enterprise. Imagine like in the 70s and 80s, you create an intranet first and then you create the internet. So we want to start with the BaaS rather than the application. And that's why we're offering the enterprise BSN. So Hong Kong government is one of the body that we actually implement the solution, and then we're talking with other countries and implement it within mainland China already. The other more focus about the global blockchain infrastructure is related with public BSN. And this is what I mentioned earlier. So we actually created two networks for mainland China and global and combine to develop more of a global scale data exchange platform. So we actually partner not just with Chinese company. Our main partner is actually from global. So as an infrastructure platform, we don't own any protocol. We don't issue any tokens. Instead, we integrate different protocols and frameworks, permission and permissionless, providing a total solution, a variety of protocols or frameworks for the enterprise and user to select, rather than tell them to use Hyperledger or tell them to use Polygon, public or private protocols. And then I personally actually work closely with the cloud providers globally, and because we need them to provide the node resource actually to setting up the infrastructure, but also enable them with blockchain as a service solution. We actually have the consortium type of business. Rather than owning the BSN, we actually co-governance the BSN foundation and association, both in China and also outside. So I want to give a kind of technology kind of sharing. I think what we're seeing from the market and what we're talking with the executive and the government itself, it's not just about public and private or permission and permissionless blockchain. When we're looking at regulatory compliance, not just in China, but Saudi Arabia, India, and other places. So for China, for example, so we actually integrate what we call open permission blockchain. So that might include KYC elements and then data sovereignty, where all the nodes and data information will stay within certain territory or country. And this is where companies and government could potentially use a KYC integrated open permission protocols to actually do the DID, to do the verification and examples. And then outside of China, and also more of a public network concept, we actually promote non-crypto public chain. We're still enjoying the public chain consensus, the concept, anonymous, transparency and everything. However, we feel the blockchain, tokenomics, the cryptos is actually more of an application layer rather than the infrastructure layers. So the overall concept for the enterprise adoption, including some of my clients, is actually we're not going to touch the layer 2, or we're going to keep the existing, the server, the cloud structure, the backend, and then however we want to enable them with infrastructure for future DApp adoption. It doesn't matter it's a certification application, it could be an NFT tokenization, it could be even a metaverse project. However, looking from the CTO, the CIO side view, they want to manage data centrally, and they want to have a management platform to manage multiple applications together. So, and that's why we integrate different functional modules and then different protocol. And for government example, they probably integrate multiple protocol rather than just using Hyperledger itself. And also they have to consider about, do I integrate the Western one or the Chinese one? So, you need to have infrastructure first to do so. So, I always like to use this kind of slide while talking with my clients, just because my construction and the structural engineering background is that, I know that a lot of enterprise, they are exploring blockchain application, the DApp solution. And then, however, it doesn't mean that whenever they do application, they need to build infrastructure, they need to build a role and then, drive the car on top. Hyperledger, physical vehicles, R3 or consensus Quorum or even Polygon. What we're proposing is actually for enterprise, for government, build one bridge, build one road, and you can drive multiple cars and do multiple applications to manage. When we're talking about Web3, I think Web3, over the last few years, up and down, everybody talking about Web3, globally speaking. However, Web2 will be here, actually. I think from the banking side, from the government side, privacy and data ownership, they will keep everything closed door, at least, for the next while, actually. However, when we're promoting Web3, this is what we're looking at, how you want to share the information on a public infrastructure. So we encourage Web3, however, it's more on the data transparency, the credibility, and then also two other elements, the easy connectivity. And then most important, I think, data ownership. When we're looking at the European market, when we're looking at mainland China and also Middle East, I think data ownership, data privacy, individual ownership or national ownership of the data is actually quite important. I list some of the examples here. This is not related with construction, but if you're interested, I can share more, from ESG related, carbon credit, carbon certification, even public lottery systems that, in certain country, we could offering NFT as e-tickets. So next, I'll be more focused on the construction use case. I think last year, everybody talked about metaverse. I think in Hong Kong, people talk about the sandbox, MTR, HSBC, some of the developers in Hong Kong, they actually purchase land in there. However, when we're looking at construction, the concept of metaverse is already implemented. So, in Hong Kong, for example, I think a lot of projects adopt Fuser. So it's like a virtualization VR software that people play with the VR goggles. However, they do also have this kind of communication models within, where the designers from UK and then the project owners from Hong Kong, and then the architect and the, from the US can actually all go to this metaverse world for data exchange, for coordinations and meetings. So this is more of a visualization of the Web3 and the concept. However, for Fuser, they haven't integrated blockchain yet, but it's just kind of a concept of adopting metaverse in the construction industries, which we already have. It just depends on the project manager if they want to use it now. Additionally, so I think recently, early this year, we also have a developer from Hong Kong. They actually developed what they call the river chains, more related with supply chain finance. So I think last year, when I start talking with some developers and also the contractors, I think people are interested, want to explore supply chain logistics. I think some of the professors in Hong Kong and the companies, they already did for cross-border supply raw material management. However, when we extend the bin information, existing condition information, all those kind of real-time information, we can actually fit those, send those and share those information to supply chain finance companies actually to provide loans and provide payments for the suppliers and the subcontractors. And so this actually makes using smart contract and collecting all the real-time information, making it much smarter and faster for payments. And additionally, in Hong Kong, over the last few years, we're promoting what we call the digital work supervision system. So that's where a lot of informations need to be signed off by different parties, and then using more of a digital documentation management solution. And then more and more, I think when the government is publishing the guidelines, mandatory the requirements for digital documentation, but I think the reason why is that the Development Bureau want to store the information in multiple spaces. So that's why when we're promoting blockchain, we're actually promoting more of a decentralization of data storage. Blockchain technology itself just one of the method to store the information. One of the companies in Hong Kong, SnagR, is actually already integrated, and they put the tokenized documents as NFT, could potentially store their own Ethereum, Polygon, and the private chains. Other project, I think from Yao Li, I'm not going to talk too much about this. I think you guys probably already heard it. So this is where they do have a blockchain-enabled environment for cross-border supply chain management. Talking about Hong Kong government itself, the information is all public, so you guys can search online. I think one of the departments closely related with construction and building development is EMSD. So they are the Electronic and Mechanic Service Department. They actually did a project, I think over the last few years, to tokenize all the certification, have a single source of truth to kind of store the information of the lift and escalators. So this is just one single application by one department. So the project we're working with is the Hong Kong OGO, the Office of IT. So the concept is actually really similar to Dubai's concept. I would say that I think back in 2019, IBM, the consensus, actually did a smart city approach for Dubai, where they built up this centralized hub, super hub by IBM to instruct all departments to do an application and then shoot the information back and then connect to the hub. So we did the same for the Hong Kong government almost 2 years ago, so for OGO. So we create a shared blockchain platform under the management OGO. And then if any department, I think 76 or 73 departments in Hong Kong, they want to explore blockchain application, all they need to do is smart contracts and front end. All the back end is already centralizedly managed, and then also all the nodes are established, the resources provided, just need to go to the OGO, request for gateway, and then the information, the application could be deployed to an API or gateway. So this is more like a smart city concept rather than just application. And then when we're talking about BIM, we're talking about blockchain, it's about data management. We're not just focused on one DApp solutions actually. Of course, I think that I'm not we're also working with HKUST to kind of promote the blockchain concept. Myself, I'm more interested in the construction and real estate development sites. Some application, I'm not going to share the names, but I want to share probably 4 or 5 different ideas about how to use the blockchain technology. I think the first one is always the documentation management and then using to digitize the BIM, tokenize the digital assets. I think, like I mentioned, the DWSS systems already have it, the tokenized document management solutions in Hong Kong. And then to extend it a little bit further, I think one guest asked about how to work with the banks. So we do work with Fujifilm, which is a Japanese office solution provider. They have all the printing service provider equipments and software, and I also work with HSBC. So we actually did a project. Imagine, using a documentation management, a contract management solution, tokenize it, integrate a smart contract using Fujifilm's office solution, e-digital sign by both party, and actually have a connection gateway with one of the leading banks in Hong Kong. The information is public, actually. It's working with HSBC. So you send the automatic instructions through the smart contract to HSBC. HSBC will make payments through the traditional channels. Hopefully, in the future, the next 3 to 5 years, when stablecoin and CBDC is actually more mature and adopted, this payment will just automatically send it through the CBDC, actually, or stablecoin, or using the blockchain infrastructure and the concept, rather than go back to the traditional banking payment systems. Other applications we're looking at, so this is the one. So it's smart contract in construction, invoicing, and payment. So we do understand that most of the clients, developers, they only care, the contract is signed with the main contractors. They don't really care about, how the payment is actually, by contract standards, legal, they don't need to worry about, the subcontractor parts. However, when we're looking at the NEC contract, for example, and when we're looking at different kind of adoptions in invoicing and payments, we could actually use smart contract and combining with the banking solutions actually to make the payment more transparent and then payable to all parties within the project, and manage all those kind of payments and have a record of it. And I know that some large companies around the world, I think like Walmart, I think that project is actually public too, and also some Middle East companies, they are actually encouraging tokenized invoicing payment solution by shortening incentive by shortening the payment and credits. One other, I think, application, I think some speakers mentioned is about e-tender and bidding. We actually not just introduced this for construction. I actually introduced this concept for other food and beverage company because I think daily they kind of purchase, quite a lot of, eggs and bread, from different suppliers, and also sometimes they might have an emergency request saying that I want, certain products, a small quantity might not go through open tenders actually. However, through this blockchain-based concept, we would suggest, actually, we are suggesting the client to actually have a DID service, not just for the person, the laborers working on site, for example, but also all the suppliers and the contractors. And then you have a platform by the owners, and the credential, the certification and all the historical information will be considered, through the e-tendering and bidding process. Just make it much more efficiency, actually, simplifies everything. One other idea, I think 5 or 6 years ago, Bing object, and then I think it was actually one of the hot topics. And then even for Hong Kong, I think CIC, we do have the Bing libraries. I'm not sure what the future will be, depends on, Autodesk and other software provider, also the ecosystem. Are we going to have a tokenized Bing object with all the information? For example, so the manufacturers in China, they want to tokenize, certain small elements, making us even an NFT or tokenized objects, integrating all the ESG information, the material informations, and then you just go to that library and then download that, objects, and then add it onto the Bing model itself, actually. And then you could have a more systematic and single source of truth of information and real-time information, accurate information, through the supply chain and management. Yeah, I think I only have 1 minute left, but I would like to go through one concept. So overall, I think when we're talking with the enterprise, there are a few different models that they're looking at. I think most of the company or government, they're doing one application, selecting one protocol. However, we don't feel that's the right way. I mean, at the pilot level, of course, explore blockchain. However, we want to push more at the infrastructure level. Then you have the second model where the company or the government creating their own chain. Potentially, it could be have a Hong Kong chain, a Europe chain, for example, maybe different country, even universities, you can have your own protocol or frameworks and your own platforms. And this is still, people need to do the infrastructure because the protocol we feel is just like Java, C++. It's just a language that you use. Doesn't matter if it's private or permission. And potentially, if you're collaborating with external parties, you might have other protocols. So the last model is actually more of a consortium base. All universities come together. For example, Hong Kong, and I was looking, a few years ago, there's a European blockchain service networks, right? I mean, and the universities come together to offering the certifications. So this concept still, I mean, we feel is the still door consortium type of business. What we're feeling for the next 10 to 20 years is everybody's going to do their own stuff. It's like creating the intranet. And then when we're looking at Web 2.5, Web 3, it's going to become connecting all the intranets together and then creating the next generation of internet solutions. Yeah, so that's summarize. One last thing. So there's this Web3 associations in Hong Kong. So government is actually promoting the blockchain adoptions. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to find me after. Thanks.